Hey, what is going on? Back with another installment of the Python Yahtzee game. Um, where we left off last time, and if I run this, we have our score buttons. And what I do when I'm doing these is I'm building these elsewhere and then kind of going back through and piecing them together. So I already kind of have my finished product and what this should look like and where and how I'm kind of going step by step through it. So there might be some changes, but I'll kind of go over through all of that. And at the end, I will be uploading this code probably to my GitHub, and I will leave a link in there so people can just get the full code if they want it. I am coding this on Windows and then redoing this on my Mac. So some of the translation might be a little different within Python, like the path names and things like that, but not to worry. I can kind of show an example of both if we need to. And then please let me know if you have any questions or anything like that in the comments. But let us continue. So looking through, what I want to start with is, so we have all this. Basically, the only other thing I want to do is I want to add this other section. And to be honest, I think I just added it just in case I needed it. And I'm just going to paste it in, so sorry. But it's going to be a button name with a colon, and it's just going to be empty. And then it's going to be button name label, also going to be empty. I just added these just in case we needed it for the dynamic buttons that we set up earlier. So I'm just going to go through and copy and paste these in after the name in the dictionary. And there we go. So it should look something like that. I think that's the only updates I made to the score variables. Other than that, we're going to create another variable up here just called all dice. And so today we're going to be creating those dice and doing all that kind of stuff. And like I said, I do this separately and I kind of come back and rebuild it. In this I go through multiple iterations of how to make the code, create the code, and then I'll condense it, make it a little bit more complete. Again, I'm not the perfect coder. No one is. I'm terrible at leaving comments in the code, but I will probably do just a little episode where I just put in comments so people can go back and kind of figure things out on their own. But again, from a high level, we got the windows. This creates the actual window where we're seeing the buttons. And then I am going to add a couple more variables up here. We're going to do current dice numbers. We are going to do disabled scores. And that's going to be equal to 0. Or no, sorry, that is just going to be a list. We're going to do roll count, which will be equal to 0, and we're going to do bonus score, which is going to be equal to 0. And I'll touch more on what these will do later on in the video, but we are going to just continue right in. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is start by creating another function. And we're going to do function create dice. And like I said, I go back and I consolidate code. So originally I wrote all this out so the dice were hard coded, but then I went back and made them dynamic like we did with the scoring. So we're going to start with that. We're going to pass it a number. I was trying to make this a little bit more simpler, and I'm going to try again to, and I'll kind of go over what I'm talking about, but basically when we want to do the random numbers going into the dice so you can get 1 through 6, I kind of wanted to pass through that number, but I wasn't having a lot of luck with it. So right now I'm just passing 1 usually, so the dice reset every time, and I'll show you obviously what that look like. But so there are 5 dice in Yahtzee, so we are going to just do for I in range 5. And then I just call it dice number is equal to lowercase dice plus string I. And then image, we're going to be dealing with something a little different, and this is all how I create the dynamic dice with these unique variables that each one gets assigned. We will be adding a library, I believe, though, to make this all possible, because the dice are just images, and we're just passing these images in every single time. Oops, that's not how you spell smaller. And then plus string I. So basically I'm setting these variable names to all be dice, and then it's going to basically be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 within that range. So each one's going to get assigned a unique number for that. Now we're going to load the image. I will put some comments in there just to make it easier, but globals, so we're initializing that variable, that string variable we made. Using globals will make it an actual variable. So globals, and we're going to start with image number, is equal to, and this is the new kind of tkinter kind of like how we were doing tk.button, tk.label. This is going to be a new kind of one of those. It's photo image. We are going to do master is equal to windows, or window, sorry, which is the name of our actual window. And then for file, this is where we kick in the image. There's obviously better ways you can do this, but this is how I have it. And let me grab my file name. This is how it is on Mac. Oops. Oh no. I don't use my Mac often anymore, but it's the only personal computer I have. There we go. So that's where the images are stored, and just to kind of give you an example, this is kind of what that looks like. We have Python, this is the file, and then I have this dice folder, which has all the dice inside of it that we need, and I just started with the number to kind of pull it a little bit easier. And so you're going to put everything up to that dice point, and then what I did was just do plus string number passed plus .png. These are all PNG files, and I'll put a link to where I grabbed these buttons and downloaded them in the description, and also when I put this on my GitHub, I will add the buttons in there as well. But we get that number passed from this function, so we're passing that number to right here. So when we do pass a 1, it's going to be a 1.png, which will pull out the dice number 1. After this, we'll do another, oops, I need to close my statement, and then we're going to go globals again. And basically what we're doing now is we're using that small image number. If you didn't use this, the dice will be gigantic. Basically now what I'm doing is making the dice a tiny bit smaller so it looks a little bit more normal for our game and fits in our window. And you can see I'm using a global of our small image number, and I'm also using that global of the image number to do this. So this is all dynamically done and will work for as many buttons as we needed, or many dice as we needed. And I played around with this number. I think 8 is a good sample of what the image size should be. And then we are going to create a label to display the image. So right now, the image isn't there. We're letting them know where the image is located. We are resizing this image, but the image isn't necessarily on the window yet. So now we're going to do our normal globals, and we're going to do dice number. So dice number is kind of the heart and soul of our variable here, because this is what all the dice will be called, tk.button. So there's our button, and then we're going to do window. This is the same thing as doing master equals window. It's just shorthand for it. So window state is equal to normal. States are going to be very important in this game for disabling and re-enabling buttons. So we have the state. Then we're going to do image. So we're going to let them know that we're going to pass an image to this button, and it's going to be globals, and it's going to be that small image number because we want to pass that resized image. And then this will have a command. Oops, that's not a comma. This will have a command to it. So it's going to be command is equal to lambda. And again, lambda is, I like to think of it as like you're going to wait until this button is pressed. You're not going to automatically run this until button is pressed. We're going to pass a variable, and it's going to be variable is equal to, we're going to pass that dice number through just, to make life just a tiny bit easier. And then we are going to, and let me just take a gander over here at the code, and we're going to pass it to the function of dice read var. Boom, boom, boom. And then we have the normal kind of stuff. So we're going to do globals, and you can copy and paste this. I'm being a pain and not doing it. So you can just do globals, copy, paste, and then we're going to do dot grid. I put it on row 1, and I'm just hard coding that. And then we're doing column is equal to I plus 2, so it's just iterating through this I up here and adding 2 to it. We're doing pad x, so on the x-axis we're going to space it by 2, and then on pad y, or paddy as I like to say, we're going to do it by 2 as well. Again, we're going to do that globals.dice number, and we're going to, and this won't be important until later, but I'm just adding it now. It's called a bind. And we're going to do button 3. And I haven't tested this on Mac to see if this works the same as Windows. I'm sure it will, or there will be some slight variation. But button 3, and then we're just going to call it right click. Right click will be the name of a function, and we'll do that here shortly. But so basically, you'll see what the function does. But we're binding this right click. So when you do it on the button, it will run this function separately from this dice read function. Then we have the all dice dot append. So we're appending all these dice to our to this list up here to all dice, and we're just appending the actual variable name. Excuse me. So like I said, let's go back up and let's quickly just do this right click function. So above def create dice, we're going to just do another def right click, and then you have to put event in here because it is just an event, and we do event.widget, and then this is where we bring in the state. Again, the state of the button, and we're going to just pass it as normal. And that is all we're doing for that function. It's a very simple function. And then really quickly, before I get too far, I do want to go back up to the top where we're importing, and we are just going to do the from tkinter we're going to import, and we're going to need that photo image that we just used. So we're going to put that there. And so your code should have all these variables. You have the window, you have the right click, and you have the create dice. And let's see, if I run it, do I get an error or anything? Does it actually spit it out for me? So right now we still just get this. It's because we're not calling this create dice. If I were to go down here and we just did create dice and we passed it a 1 because you have to pass it that number, and we ran this. Sorry, it takes a second to load. We will get this. So it's a little ugly. I do rearrange these later on, but this is what this looks like. And all that. So right now you can't click on these because we don't have a function for dice read yet. And right clicking does work, but you can't see what it's doing because dice read will disable the buttons so you can save them and they won't re-roll. And then right clicking would make the dice available again to use. So don't worry about this weird little aces has this space. We're going to fix all that later on. But for right now, this is what you should have on your screen. Cool. So let us just go right down the line, and we are going to add above def push, the function for pushed, we're going to do roll dice. Yeah, let's do this, and then we'll go fix the scoring buttons. So with all these functions within this widget, it's very important that we set global variables. So we're going to do global, and you're going to do this for a lot of them, but we're just going to pass it all good variables that we probably will manipulate within this function. So I do pass all dice, but I'm also separately passing all the solo dice. This might be overkill, but it's just how I like to do my coding. So basically dice 1, 2, 3, and dice 4 are all these dynamically created dice numbers that we just did. We're going to pass roll count. We're going to pass this roll button, which doesn't exist yet. We're going to pass scores. We're going to pass current dice numbers. And we're going to pass disabled scores. And you see how I kind of went into my sloppiness by not adding the spaces after a while, but there we go. Everything's all spaced out. So those are global elements now, global variables that we can manipulate, and it will change as we go on. Up here, I'm just setting C is equal to 0. That's just for column purposes, so we can iterate through the columns. And then we're going to start with roll count plus equal 1. And then we're going to do a roll counter dot configure. Text is equal to roll number plus string roll count. And I'm going to add a little space so that's a little bit better. Okay. Obviously, this doesn't exist yet. And then this does exist, but we're not doing anything with it yet. And we'll get to that, I promise. But if you ran this right now, it's not going to know what those are. And then we're going to do if length of current dice numbers is greater than 0, we are simply going to clear current dice numbers dot clear. We're just going to clear the list that we have created up here. We're going to clear all those. And that will make more sense later, but and then we're not going to do an else, we're just going to do another if roll count is greater than 0. We're going to do for I in scores, so we're iterating through all the scores And then if we do if globals, and then this is where these kind of get a little weird, but we're gonna do if globals I button name, and again that was the new dictionary item I had you guys add in the beginning. It's a state and is equal to normal. So that's part one. Oh, we have to do. Oh, I'm out of turn right here. I'm sorry. Hold on. We are keeping this. Don't get rid of that. After for I in scores, we're actually going to do if, and we can copy this first part. We're going to do this. If I can, I copied a blank space. So we're going to do this, and we need that to close it out. We're going to check to see if the score is in disabled scores. If it is, we're going to just pass, and then else, and we're going just to do this. So if it's in disabled scores, we're going to pass, but if it's not, we're going to turn the state back to normal. So all disabled scores will remain disabled after you use them. Now we're going to do, in line with the roll count, we're going to do for I in all dice. So we're iterating through all those dice, and I like to space it out just a little bit more visually. We are going to do random number is equal to random dot rand int 1 through 6. So this is randomly going to select a number 1 through 6. So we can display different numbers on the dice. And we're going to do that. Dice number is equal to dice. And then we're doing something similar to what we did up here. And honestly, we can grab all of this and we can paste it right here. But instead of I was using C. And remember, we set C up here. So dice plus string C, all that. And then we're going to scroll down just a tiny bit more. And so after we do these, we're going to do we're going to keep it in line with that. So if globals, and again, like I said, we're going to do, I'm just going to copy this to make life just a tiny bit easier. We're going to just do if global's dice number is disabled, and again, feel free to copy from above where we created the dice. We are just going to paste this, and we're just going to make a couple of changes if you copy from above up here. So we have that. This will not be that anymore. We need to create that, take that file again from up here. So let me do that. So we're doing that random number right here, which will be this. So that could be a 2.png. Subsample is still going to be 88. Dice number, we're going to do small, and just for this, we're going to make sure we pass string C instead of string I, like what we did up here. Actually, we don't even pass that. We just pass dice number. This one, we're just passing string C. Technically, we could pass dice number. I just did it a little differently here. And we're going to do that same dice read var. Rows equal to 1, column, make sure you change this to a C plus 2. And then everything else should be pretty consistent. We still have that bind of button 3. And we're almost done with this part of the function, and we're going to just do if roll count is equal to 3. We are going to just do roll button, and we're going to do that state is equal to disabled. Nice. And then we're going to do else, but this is going to be outside of that if, which makes it a little confusing, but really we're doing it for this. So if it's in this disabled, we're doing this. Else, we're going to do if roll count is equal to 3. We're going to do that same kind of deal right here. So I can just copy this. We're going to paste that. We're going to disable. And then we're going to pass. And then on line with that else statement, we're going to do C plus equal 1. And we're going to do current dice numbers dot append globals image number dot cget is used a lot in tkinter. It just basically gets what is in a certain button, in this case photo image. So basically we're going through and we're going to say, hey, get this file that we actually added up here, and we're going to add that file name into this current dice numbers. This will help us track scores later on, and basically every time we roll dice, we are clearing out that current dice numbers, and then we're just going through and adding the new ones in. So that's why we have that disabled. We're going to pass because we already have that in our list, so we're just going to keep going, and it'll still be there. And honestly, let's finish it out with this dice read, because it is a small one and it's an important one. So we're going to do dice read, and we are taking in that dice name, and then we are doing global. And again, honestly, with the global, you can probably just copy and paste all these. I don't have all these in mind, but it really doesn't hurt if you overdo it in those. So as long as you have all dice and then dice 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 and current dice numbers, which we have all those in there. And then we're just going to do globals, dice name, and then we're going to do the state. And instead of normal, we are going to do disabled. And then lastly, for this episode, let's just kind of clean up a tiny bit. So we are going to keep this create dice 1. We also are going to do a roll button is equal to tk dot button window. So that's that window that we've been using this whole time. The text, you can have it say whatever you want. In this case, I'm just going to have it say roll. We're going to do the width is equal to 12, and then it will have a command of lambda, and then we are simply just going to do roll dice and do that. And then you can just copy this name that we just created, and let me space it out just a tiny bit more. Literally all that's on the bottom is that window main loop. So we're going to, and I copied it, and then copied a blank space. So we're going to do that roll button dot, and then this one's just going to be grid. So where we put it on the window, and we're going to do that row is equal to 1, column is equal to 0. That is it for that. And then we have the roll counter, which is what we did above, which is just the letting the user know what roll they are on. So TK dot label, and we have the window text is equal to, and we already kind of did this up above. We're just going to do roll number, that space, throw a quote, and we're going to do plus string roll count. And then basically I just made the width is equal to 12 as well. And then we have to assign it a part in the window. So roll counter dot grid, and then we're going to do rows equal to 0, and we're going to do column is equal to 1, and then I am doing a column span. So basically it just spans over a few columns so I can center it. And we're just going to do column span 5, and that'll make sense when I display this all in a second. As for the scores, let's just update those real quick. Basically, what we had, this is what we had in the first episode. Change that R0 to an R3 for me. And then what we're going to do is, remember I had you add the button score and button label to the dictionary. We have the button score. All we are going to do is add the button label. I really don't know if we do anything with this necessarily, but we're going to add it. I'm just going to get rid of that button score. We don't need it. So we're going to do if scores I name is bonus. So we have that. I name with 12, 2, column C, row plus I. So that all looks good. This, on the other hand, I do add, after name, I do add a state is equal to disabled. And then with 12, command var, That all looks the same. And lastly, something I was like, how did I not add this beforehand? We are going to use that button score label, and we're going to copy, I'm copying it from my other file, but I'll go over it in this one. So it's going to be that button score label that we just put up here. It's going to be a label. We're going to do window, text is equal to 0 for this one, for the bonus. We're going to put 0. Rows R plus I, C plus 1, pad X, pad Y. As for down here in the else, you can basically copy and paste what you did up there. Button score label. Instead of 0, I made it a dash. And that should all work out. So if we ran this right now as is, we get this. So it looks a little bit better. So we have this roll button up here. All the buttons are disabled as of right now because it would be cheating if this came up and you can just hit Yahtzee. But now we can roll. And right now, it's because I don't have current dice number defined. And line 62. Interesting. And if I do options, show line numbers, we go to line 62, and I can show you that error. We have current dice number not defined, which is interesting. I thought current dice numbers, did I just add an S and that was what the issue is? Yeah, okay, I think that is. So it said line 62. Line 62, I think we just add that S. So that's on me. It's the small mistakes. We bring this back in. Let's hit roll. Still not working. And roll dice, and this is all part of the, stuff. We got to troubleshoot. Line 67, roll dice. We got a key error. Roll dice, line 67. If I button name and disabled scores. So we got roll dice. And we got, we're talking line 67 for I in scores. If global's button name, and I'm just going to double check to make sure my spelling and everything is correct here. Okay. And then lastly, I do kind of want to check up here. I thought I did some more switching around on the variables. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 35, blank, blank, 25, blank, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 35, blank, blank, 25, blank, blank, 50, 0. 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And then we have aces, twos, threes, fours, fives, sixes, bonuses, 3 of a kind, 4 of a kind, full house, small straight, large straight, Yahtzee. Just bonuses is the weird one, I think. And then let me take one more look at this area. So for bonus, R plus I, C plus 1. Oh, I did not add this. So after these, in line with the else statement, I do have, I keep copying like that. And we're just going to, so we are going to append these to a list. So score button, score label. I don't know if that's the issue or not, but we are going to do that. So that runs nice. We hit roll. Name random is not defined. And that is because we do need to add, sorry about this, yeah. So up here, I just added random. Random is a built-in library, but you do need to add it into your import statement. So import random. Hopefully now we should see some dice be moved. There we go. You see some dice moving. And then, like what I said, we can go like, oh, we have a lot of twos. And on Mac, you can't see it, but these buttons are disabled. And so if I roll, you can see the 2 stayed. And then we can hit like 2s, but we're not appending any scores yet. So just keep that in mind. But I'll try to make that a little easier to see by adding some color to it when it's disabled. But just so you know, so like, let me highlight all these. So none of these numbers should change. They didn't. And then if I right click on them, they still didn't change. Okay. We have some work to do. But I think this is a good stopping point. This is a long one. But we'll let me take a look at some stuff and I'll get back to you in the next episode. Thank you for your time. Again, please, questions, comments, concerns in the comments section. Again, no one's a perfect coder. I'm just trying to share with you guys some fun things I can do on the side and hopefully help you guys kind of recreate and build your own Yahtzee. And feel free to take, your own liberties. If you want to make some changes, some colors, some different sizings, rearrange it however you want, that is perfectly fine. Make this your own. I'm just building a very simple version of it. So thank you guys for watching, and more to come. And yeah, thank you.